Well, hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 41. This is our weekly music production, technology, and marketing podcast. Today we're talking about iOS synths, low-cost analog gear, and we'll be taking a deep dive, well, I guess actually two deep dives separately, into the stem splitting and sound design capabilities of Hit and Mix's new RipX DeepCreate. My name is Sunwarper, and with me today is my Audionautic co-pilot, Curtis. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, mate. It's bloody cold here, but I'm good. Very nice. Can't
It's cold
complain.
here too, man. I feel you. What have you been up to?
Mainly been listening back to the masters that you've been making. Yeah, going through. We're all
Well,
done
this
now,
could
I
be
think.
embarrassing, but what are your thoughts?
Well, if anyone wants to get any mastering done, go see Sunwarper because it's
Oh,
bloody
well,
excellent.
thank
Yeah,
you. Yeah, because I haven't gotten your finished thoughts yet, so we could do it live right now.
we
Let
could
me
do it live
know.
right now. No, it's great. I love them all. There was a couple that we've gone back and forth on, and I think there might be one where I overcorrected the strings, and now you can't hear them enough.
Oh,
I'm
no.
still I'm gonna know on that one.
I know how
But
that
yeah,
happens.
it's awesome. It's great. It's nice to see it all come together. Kind of like I've put them all in a playlist, listening through, just keep looping through them all,
Yeah.
creating the rest of the story. It's nice to see the whole thing kind of like come together proper, like, you know what I mean?
And it's nice to finally have it done, right? Like, it's one thing when you finish the mix and stuff, but there's still that, I'm going to get the masters back, and if I need to change it, I have to open these files again, the projects and all that, but it's like, now you can be like, I'm done. Other than
It's
the
a
one
kind
with the strings too low. I guess you got to go back
yeah.
and fix
We'll
that
do
one.
that. It's fine. It's the one I did, and then they were too hot, and then they overcorrected.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll see. But it's fine. It's good. It's nice to because now this is the bit where it's the album itself is always like it's a figment of your imagination, and then you get the full kind of shebang, the whole process together, and that's where you can finish off writing the narrative, which is kind of the reason why I do this. So it's putting the tracks in order, telling the story, figuring out the final little aspects of the story. It's good
Yeah.
fun. Oh yeah, much good fun. So yeah. That's what I've been doing. What about you?
What have I been doing? Well, busy. I was mastering your album, but that is mostly done, I suppose. Let's see, what else? Been tinkering with DeepCreate, which has been a lot of fun, and then some SP work, of course. I
Of course.
don't know if I'm gonna have a YouTube video up this week on my channel. I was hoping to get a finished version of what we did for the DeepCreate up for tomorrow, but life's a little busy at the moment, so I think that'll go up Tuesday. So that is what it is. We'll see. But that, and then the next thing that I'm planning before I really start working on my next album fully, I want to do a massive sound design, like, number of sessions where I put a bunch of different drums, synths, one shots, samples, stuff like that into my SP and into the DAW, so that I can just kind of create this sonic world to draw from whenever I need to.
So just like a data bank where
Pretty
just you
much.
can they've got over there, and you're what's it like a massive stock take kind of thing. They're all there ready
Yeah,
to go, and then you're sorted for a while.
exactly. Yeah, I've never done
Um,
that, and I always, like, when I'm doing drums, I always have to just sort through all the drums, like, either that Logic has or that I've made or something. But I want to have everything kind of like little separated ideas of, like, these are drums that I would want for synthwave or something, and have like a bunch of kicks, a bunch of snares, and I even want to do, like, just play guitar and make some loops, and play piano and make some loops, and then I could always just, like, throw that loop and resample it and chop it up and do stuff with it, kind of like if you were getting a sample or something. So it's just to change the way I work, which I think will tie in much later in the episode to what we're going to talk about in the round robin.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
should also add, we're live. Everyone in the chat, how's it going? What have you been up to this week? And thanks for joining us. If you want to hit that little like button, it helps a ton. If you're listening back, leave a comment. What have you been up to this week?
Yeah, that's nice. Nice to see everyone in the chat. Bendu, Shady, Survey Channel, lovely. Thank you ever so much for joining us, especially during the day over in the States. It's always nice spending their lunch breaks with us. It's always handy. It's nice. But yeah, what have you guys been up to? This show is brought to us by our patrons. Shady is a patron, Bendu is a patron, and they allow us to do more of this. We really appreciate it. So if you watching back or listening live, if you're vibing with the stuff that we're making these days and in the weeks, consider going over to patreon.com/audionautic and becoming a patron. It starts at $2. You get early access to certain stuff. You get special editions. You get video versions of our binary stars, for example.
And
There's
extended
lots of stuff you
orbits.
can do. And extended orbits, yes, very much so.
And of course, our new Starstream Hangouts over on Discord.
Yeah, which is always very fun. Which is this Sunday, patrons. Just in case we're going on Sunday, which is 8 p.m. my time, which is 11 a.m. Pacific, same time as the show.
Look at you, Mr. Worldwide over here.
It's got to be done. Yeah, we're going to be on our Discord channel in the Patreon section, just having a chat, seeing what we're all up to before we all go away for the winter break and the winter holidays.
Yeah, and then we've also been doing, after our weekly scheduling meets on Mondays at 10 a.m. my time, we've been hopping in the just Discord voice chat that's open for everyone over on our Discord channel for about 20-30 minutes. This week we were talking about ethical implications and the morality of AI artwork and things like that. It got a little heady, but it was interesting. So if you ever want to talk, we don't just talk about that kind of stuff. We just talk music, what we're up to, all that stuff. So feel free to head to the Discord. It's in the description if you want to check it out.
Yeah, it's always nice. Always fun to see, have people there and just see what's been going on. For example, Sunwarper and I chat a lot about business and the day-to-day runnings of things, but it's nice to actually just find out what's going on in each other's lives. So it's good fun. So yeah, what have we got this week? We've got a lot of news, and we've got followed by some marketing. We've got a deep dive this week on the new hit and mix RipX, which Sunwarper mentioned before. And then we've got a lot of marketing as well, daily playlists, and we've got a bit of Instagram, the round robin at the end, looking at ways to mix things up. But we shall start with the news as ever. So we start with the news. Should we start with the Copperhead?
I think we should, yeah, because you put this one in this morning and I didn't have a chance to look at it. But I'm really getting into iOS apps for music making. Yeah. So I saw that and was like, I can't wait to see this. So enlighten me, please.
Cool. So yeah, this is a new iOS synth, as I said. So you can get it on an iPad or you get it on an iPhone. It looks it's from 4Pockets. And 4Pockets, they've tried to create a retro synth style, something for the 80s. So again, if you're into your synthwave, for example, or if you generally like retro sounds, it's probably an app for you. It's got 16-note polyphony. It's got 7 oscillator wave types, a sub-oscillator. So it's a bit like Serum in that front. Very nice. It's got 6 types of VCF filter, audio gate, inbuilt compressor, chorus, delay, overdrive, reverb, and a 32-step arpeggiator.
What doesn't it have?
Bloody well like. What doesn't it have? Exactly. And I tell you what, right, you're going to love the price. $12.
Man, that's crazy.
$12. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So much in such a little box, and it does sound pretty cool. So I'm going to bring up the clip I found on YouTube just so you guys can hear it, what's going on here. Again, as far as soft synths go, this is bloody nice. Yeah, wonderful, isn't it? Absolutely, just magical. I'll skip ahead a little bit.
I took and pulled.
Hey, come here.
Okay.
Want to make chords that sound
Nico.
like
Gotta get an ad blocker, man.
All you need is Nico.
But yeah, very much so. As you can see, very touchability, very nice coming through. Lots of really cool stuff going on there. Yeah, for $12, can't really complain. Very much.
Tone it down. Say that last bit again. Sorry, it was a little loud.
Oh, so for $12, it's an absolute workhorse. There's so many presets in here, and you can connect it through MIDI keyboard, and you're sorted. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And then you can run it into Koala, and you've got a synth you need. Yeah, that's all you need, right?
You've got to. Yeah, completely and utterly. Yeah, completely. So yeah, that is a nice little.
Do you have an iPhone?
I don't. I did have an iPhone, then I sold it. I'm always on Android, but I am every day. I'm considering going back and getting an iPad. I think.
Yeah.
An iPad. There's more coming out for iOS. I do have the flip sampler because I used to have an iPhone back in the day. So I do have the flip sampler sitting there. I've got the Korg soft synths as well on the Apple Store. Thinking about it, but I mean, yeah, you use it quite a lot, don't you?
I do. Well, now I'm using it a lot, and then I use the phones to film all my YouTube video. I have an old phone and then my current one, and then I have my iPad either to run Paul Stretch or Koala, and now I'm looking at just having a visualizer running on it. that like senses the sound and it makes the visualizer based on the sound. So while the video is being made, you have like a visualizer just chilling right next to the SP or something like that. So yeah,
Truly
it's
going
cool.
forward in the whole AV situation here.
Trying to, man. I learned keyframes like a week or two ago, and I was like, whoa.
There we go.
Yeah.
Quickly in the chat, Survey Channel says how the heck is everyone else? He's well. It seems to be that way. It's nice to see people coming in the chat and doing that thing. It's always nice.
Yeah, does anybody, but sorry to cut you off, but does anybody use or are looking into using their iPad or their iPhone or any phone, anything like that, for music making? Like there's some really cool, I have a Mo synth on my iPad. That's, I think, the Model D or something. I mean, it's like crazy how good it sounds. And I love Koala. So I'd be curious to hear.
It's more and more, I think, as they become more powerful, because once upon a time iPads were not the most powerful things in the world, but as the technology is catching up, you can do more and more. They're becoming more flexible, and there's so much more you can do with them. With the yourself a little dongle, and the sky's the limit. It is good fun. It's good fun.
Definitely.
So yeah, very much so. But it's not all about the software. It's also about hardware sometimes.
Of course. It's always about hardware.
It's always about hardware. What did you find coming out of Behringer?
Well, this one was pretty awesome because we had just talked about a couple of very high-priced, I guess we could call them luxury synths that were 6 voices of analog synth goodness, and they did sound great or do sound great. But Behringer just put out the Pro-800, which is a clone of the Prophet 800, and it's 8-voice analog polysynth, $600.
That's not bad at all. That is it?
Now it's Behringer, it's a clone, it's all that stuff. We're not here to debate the merits of those awesome Oberheims and sequential synths. I love them, but I just saw this and was like, well, here's something we can talk about. That's like, hey, this is pretty cheap for what it's offering. 8 voices of polyphony, 2 VCOs per voice, up to 400 presets, full MIDI CC control, USB MIDI connectivity, dual polyphonic sequencer, dedicated LFO with 6 wave shapes, and a VCA overdrive.
$599 shipping in April 2023.
Yeah.
So I'm just stealing what we got off the docket. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was reading off of. Don't you worry.
So, that's an insane amount for very little, which Behringer are obviously kind of famous for. They make their clones, and sometimes they're a bit dodgy. We were talking on air. We've both had Behringer mixers before, which have died on us. But the synthesizers, despite the whole cloning thing, seem to be all right. Now, £600 for 8-voice polyphony. Do you want to hear some sounds before we talk about
I do.
it?
But before we do that, in the chat, Survey Channel said that he's been messing around with Koala. Nice, yeah. I've been falling in love with Koala. And then he also said, as well as DSN 20 on the 3DS. And I was like, wait, the Nintendo 3DS? And yeah, there's a music app on the 3DS. That's crazy. I know there was like Core Gadget on the Switch, which is also an iOS app and stuff, but I didn't know the 3DS has one. Oh, he says it's a Korg thing. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I guess they're on top of the Nintendo UI or something to make those. But I know Core Gadget on the Switch is pretty cool.
I'd like to check that out. More portability, just mixing it up, kind of find different ways of making music coming through. And now you can do it on a 3DS.
Well, I think you've been able to do it on the 3DS.
You've been able
for
to.
a while,
It's just first time I've come to it.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah.
That's cool. I want to see more of that. Nintendo might reach out to us at some point. It'd be quite fun to see.
Give us a 10-year-old piece of hardware, the 3DS, or even older. I don't know.
Why not? It's fitting for our station right about now.
Yeah. Well, back to lower cost analog synth goodness. Let's go back to the Pro-800. So you want to play some sounds for that?
Yeah. So we've got some sound examples here. Looking lovely, looking lush, looking pretty as it is.
Yeah, it's a desktop. So you can also put it, I think they said, in your modular setup and things like that. It's, I guess, semi-modular. There are some inputs and things.
It makes sense. So yeah, without much further ado. That's very nice.
I want one.
It's pretty. last 3 weeks looking at high-end stuff, and to suddenly, yeah,
It's cool to see an option like this come up for a polyphonic synth. I mean, there's the mini log, which I love and will always sing the praises of. But it's 4 voices, and like we've always talked about, like I even said last episode that 8 voices is like my, like what I need in a synth. When it comes to a hardware synth, that's like the Prophet 8. That's what I want. Yeah. And then it's like, here's the Pro-800. It's 8 voices, $600. I was like, oh man, don't do this to me. And the way to my heart is lush analog pads with just a little glide on it, and that sound demo was like right there. I was like, oh man.
It's not. I mean, there's what? Okay, so, there's not much you can say against it for so much for so little. Especially like you say, we've been looking at $5,000 synths, $3,000 synths, that kind of thing, where that's in a whole different bracket. Behringer coming in here and it just opens up so many gateways for the producer, because there's just such a low barrier to entry. You can really get and learn from it as well. It's a easy access because it's like $600, like you say, and you can learn from it, and you can grow, and you can twist these knobs and turn these filter notches and stuff like that, and then absolutely learn your craft. It's wonderful what they're doing.
Yeah, and that's one of the things when we were talking a couple weeks ago about one of these more higher end synths, is that a lot of those synth companies don't make like a lower end alternative, and they don't need to, but there's a market for it, and it's like Behringer has that. I mean, there's things with Behringer that they're a bit controversial, and then I know there was that, as I mentioned, like some sort of copyright drama with those clone synths they were doing and stuff, but I haven't seen anything more of that, so I don't know. But just this low barrier of entry for 8 voice analog synth is something I think is awesome, and that should be commended in that way. Over in the chat, Tate Williams said, I'm big on synths. And Survey Channel says, would not mind one of those to replace my Pro 1. Yeah, I remember you had that, and I was still thinking about getting one of those, and then I saw the Pro-800 and was like, ooh, polyphony, 8 voice poly, that's my jam. So I do have a question for the chat, though, as Survey Channel sort of said. Is a lower price point something that might persuade some of you to get into hardware or getting a hardware poly synth? Because I know we have a few people like Hydrofighter who's not the biggest fan of external hardware gear, and I'm just curious if something like this that offers a lot for the price, is that something that would persuade you in that way?
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. I mean, we both love our hardware. There's always room to buy more hardware as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
whether the wallet agrees is a different story, but there is always room. Yeah, and this one doesn't take up much space because it's desktop. No. So hey,
yeah. I mean, I'm sure even Eon Lake, who's filled to the rafters right now, could find a little corner on his desk.
Oh, somewhere. I bet he already pre-ordered it.
I bet he did. Yeah, he probably already bought it. It's probably why he's not with us on today, because he's standing in the queue to go pick it up or something like that.
Yeah, we miss you, Eon Lake.
We do. Christmas time is getting to family time, and that's where it's always got to be. So yeah, does the Behringer Pro speak to you? Does that kind of $600 price bracket, is that something you'd be interested in? Let us know either in the chat or later on in the comments if you're watching back, or if you're on Spotify, which is where you can also grab our broadcast now on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. We can put a question there as well. Let us know.
Yeah, we've got edited video podcasts over on Spotify because they now allow video, and then the edited audio is also up on Apple Podcasts and every other podcast platform. So wherever you listen, if you listen, you can tune in there if you want to check it out. And over in the chat, Tate Williams said absolutely about whether the low price would be a reason to grab it. He said, frugal friend over here.
With you there.
Right there with you.
Very much so. Give us everything for nothing. And now, give it to us now. Very much. So yes, that is what we've got in terms of gear. We've got one more piece before we move across. We are doing a deep dive on the RipX DeepCreate. But before then, you have a little bit on daily playlists.
Yeah, so this was brought to us by Andrew, who curates the Soundtrack 4 playlist. Really great playlist. You can check them out. I'll put a link in the comments later after the episode ends. They're awesome. But we always talk about playlist curation, and he had mentioned, have you heard the news about daily playlists? I said, no. No, I haven't. And he said, "Oh, they're introing premium submissions. They're doing this like whole change up. So it's kind of like their way of competing to a degree with Submit Hub, but also it sounds like they're trying to get more quality placements rather than just like check every playlist that has the setting as a chill or lo-fi or something like that." So can you share the email?
I can. If I could just bring it up. Hang on.
Well, I'll just read a little bit, but while you do that, so they're saying premium submissions will be a paid form of submissions, which guarantees artists feedback on their campaigns, while curators qualify through strict quality control measures to receive premium submissions. Curators receiving premium submissions are entitled to a revenue share, therefore will have a high standard for curators, which will enable high-quality campaigns with results. The beta is launching in January 2023, with certain curators who have been working directly with daily playlists, helping them shape tools which enable quality curators while providing better results for artists. So it's a paid submission, and just like Submit Hub, the curator will get a percentage of the submission. So kind of cool for curators. It sounds like they're going to be a little more strict. As I was saying, like on daily playlists now, you can just go and search a genre and just submit to all of them. You get, I think, 25 free submissions every couple days or something like that. Have you found it?
I have, but it was on the other account, and so I had to just email it to our own account to get through.
You have way too many accounts, man.
It's the Audionautic one because we're streaming Audionautic.
Yeah.
But here we go. Yeah, I can bring it up now. We bring this one up here. So, yeah, premium submissions. Where they go? I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here so we can see what's going on. Is that working out on the thing? There we go.
Yep.
Okay.
Let me just double check that it's on. Everything's good. Okay. So premium submissions, paid form. So I read all that pretty much. You can apply if you're a curator. They're taking submissions or applications, I should say. Why they're introducing premium submissions after listening to feedback from... Don't scroll anymore, hold on. After listening to feedback from both our artists and curators, the most consistent topic that we discussed was quality of submissions and submission results. So it's just their way of combating that. And then, of course, I mean, they're running a big platform. It adds some monetization to it and things like that. Looks like they're going to be doing a live AMA. Is that today? I don't even know what day it is
15th of December. Tomorrow.
There we go. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I won't be around, so I won't be able to check that out. But if anybody does watch it, let us know what they're saying. You can head over to our Discord and let us know. So they're taking applications. So I was just curious. I mean, we talk about playlists and things like that, and there's free versions like Daily Playlist was free, SoundPlate's free, and then there's Submit Hub and ones like that. I think there's another new one that I'm forgetting the name of, but where you can pay, you get credits, and then you can submit. So I was just curious for the chat, have any of you used Submit Hub or other paid playlist sites? And do you find it's worth it compared to the free submission pages like the current Daily Playlist and SoundPlate, or even just networking directly on social media or anywhere else with the curators? And I'd love to get your take as well, Curtis.
Oh, it's me. Yeah. I'd
hope so.
You never know these days. I mean, there's always a bit. I always put a bit of money aside for things like Submit Hub. And I've seen over time that submissions cost more and more credits, therefore they cost more and more money. So each time your spread goes out. So in this kind of premium coming through on here, that makes me feel like a little bit democratization might be a way. If Submit Hub has always been like the leading playlist submission place, and therefore that's where the money has gone. But if you're bringing in a competitor, something that can work, hopefully, perhaps, we might be able to see a bit more kind of leniency, should we say, or a return to making it more accessible to those who perhaps only have budgets of $5, $10, that kind of thing.
That's an interesting point. And just another competitor is never a bad thing in terms of maybe updates to the websites and things like that. In the chat, Tate says, should I submit my playlist on Spotify? So if you have a playlist on Spotify, you can get it on daily playlists as it exists currently. And this will remain, it sounds like. They're still going to have these free options and things like that. But to get your playlist on daily playlist, you just have to have, I think, 100 followers on the playlist. And then you can apply and it sets it up. I think you have to link your Spotify account or something, and then people can send submissions to it. You set the genre and things like that. So if you have 100 followers on a playlist, it's not a bad idea to put it on. It doesn't cost anything to get it in that free version of Daily Playlist. So yeah, I would say if you meet their metrics, check it out. It's I believe the website's dailyplaylist.com. Yeah. I think SoundPlate is another one that's free, but to get your playlist on it, I think it's a $15 fee, or you can get on a wait list, and at some point, if they have an opening or something, they'll let you in for free. So unless that's changed, it's been a while on SoundPlate. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, I would definitely get your playlist on there if you've got the metrics.
I think it's always a way to go forward, especially if it's something that we've found a bit of success. We've found quite a bit of success with it for our Audionautic Radio playlist, which you just did an update the other day, right?
Yeah, I did. I'm trying to update more frequently and then do a big post about it once a week. But yeah, if you want, it's the latest in independent, chilled out electronic music. I try to update it quite frequently. So if you want to submit anything, just send it to either the Audionautic Twitter or my Twitter or Instagram at Sunwarper, and I'll give it a listen and try to fit it in. It's mostly chill music. At the moment, the current iteration is a little more boom bap and beat driven, because that's what I've been listening to a lot lately. But we still get the drum and bass from Curtis over here, and some other cool sounds. But there's a lot of ambient. There's synthwave.
A lot of IDM.
All kinds. Yeah, a lot of IDM. So if you've got something in that chilled out atmosphere of electronic music, send it over. There's even guitar stuff. So not band stuff, but guitar stuff, like ambient guitar stuff.
Yeah, and we found success like putting it through there, and it is a way to go. And if it's something that you want to produce and push forward, and it's something you believe in, it's never a bad idea to put it up on these things and get it done.
And just to that point about daily playlists and the quality of submissions, like I've noticed, we'll get some submissions where it's like straight up rock or metal music. And none of the genres I've set are that, right? So it just happens where, maybe they hit like down tempo because, genres are kind of, it's like different, subjective. They're different for everyone. So I think this is kind of a way to combat that sort of like mix up in genre terms and things like that with these premium submissions. And you have to give feedback as a curator to the person submitting in that way.
I mean, that's good. It sounds good. I mean, the feedback option on Submit Hub as it is always a very nice thing to do. And so if they're bringing that in a bit more back and forth, again, community building and building a relationship between playlister and the playlistee.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious to see how they're going to do the whole chat system, like the feedback system. Is it just in an email like it is with Daily Playlist now, or are they going to build a chat? Because I do like that in Submit Hub. When you submit and you get approved, it opens a chat with that curator, and like their feedback is there. And if you respond, they'll most likely respond to you. So it's just a cool little networking thing there too.
Yeah. Let us know how you get on. I'd be curious to see. And yeah, that's what's coming out of Daily Playlists.
Yeah.
So we'll meander through to our deep dive, which we had a deep dive a couple of weeks ago with Bliss. And then now Hit and Mix they came up to us a couple of weeks ago and they said, hey, you're going to check out this new RipX application, which they have created.
Yeah, specifically the DeepCreate. I think it's module or app of it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's wonderful. They sent us a couple of codes and we kind of got down and had a look through. So they sent it to us, but they haven't said anything about what we say, but we have said what we want to say about the whole situation. So we've got 2 videos coming up about what this is. Basically, we're unsure about what we'd still call it. It's not a DAW. It's not a sampling machine. It's a bit of everything.
Yeah, it can do a lot. It kind of is a DAW to a degree, but it's really sample manipulation, sound design, and you'll see. I mean, it's got some crazy sound design built into it. So, do you want to give a little more about it, or should we just go to your video about it?
Let's go to it now. We're gonna see 2 videos. One, I had a little bit of an overview, and I looked at using audio and then converting it into MIDI, and then Sunwarper looked at ripping out stems and remixing and basically creating new sounds from old sounds.
Yeah.
So I woke up to a very exciting message from him this morning. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Yeah. So I think what we'll do is we'll show your video, we'll talk about it, and then we'll switch to mine because they're pretty different in context, and then I want to give, like you said, a little preamble about what was so exciting in mine. But yeah, let's go to yours first. So let's check it out.
So a few weeks ago, Hit and Mix, when they reached out to Sunwarper and I to introduce us to their new RipX application, the instant thought in my mind was, what sets this apart from other DAWs or other music apps? What's going to make me use this over Ableton, which is my first love? And after a bit of playing around, what really struck me was the amazing ability that it has to use both MIDI and audio and manipulate them in the same way. You can manipulate audio as if it was MIDI and MIDI as if it was audio. And this is really cool. This is really interesting. So I wanted to play around with it, show you what we can do with it. So we're going to use this microphone here, just this little standard microphone, and we're going to create a bass line using my voice, convert it into MIDI, and then use a preset bass to turn it into a proper bass line. So let's take a look. So now that we are in RipX itself, you can see that has a fairly standard layout. We've got the piano roll in the middle. We've got our inputs or our layers on the left hand side. This is how we build our stems. We have our inputs for selecting them. And over on the right hand side, as you can see, we've got how we manipulate the sounds that we put into RipX itself. So I'm going to start by making a loop. It's always a good place to start, by making a loop just at the top here. Just drag that across like that. As you can see, this white line here, I've just put in a standard loop, drum loop. It's from RipX himself. You can add your own drum loops if you wanted to, but I'm just playing around with the stocks. So let's listen to it. Nothing to write home about, just a standard 4/4 drum beat. And yeah, we're just going to add to this. So we're going to come over to our layers section. We're going to hit add, and we're going to come down to bass. We're going to select our input for bass, which in this case is the audio box USB, because that's where this mic is going into. We're going to make sure it's selected, and we're going to come to the front of the loop itself and just hit record. Do 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 do. Cool. So, and we have a bass line of my voice, which is going to suck. We're just going to play around the quantization. Just make sure everything's on. The beginning parts are on what they should be. Cool. So let's try listen to this now. Do 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 do. Okay, that's my voice, which is pretty terrible, but we do have a bass line, which is quite interesting. Just going to delete the stuff we don't need. Do 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 do. So don't need this top one. Don't need this guy here. Don't need this guy here either. Right, so we're going to start by just making that a bit more malleable, I think is the word. We're going to flatten some of the pitch just to get some of the warbles out. We're going to quantize the pitch as well, just to make it a little bit more even spread. And you can do this live. Do 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 do. Take that down a little bit. Do 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 do. Cool. All right. Do do do. So we have it there. Do. So now that we have our MIDI line / audio line, basically now we have our bass line. Now is our chance to make it more of a bass line, because it's still very much my voice. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to come across to this sound and time bar over here. Now you'll see that this is a slider, which is very nice and very lovely, and it means that you can blend the sound. So if you wanted, you could have some of the original input and then cross it with some of the VST bass. But yeah, and there's no reason for you to need to duplicate anything or anything else. It's just there, ready to go. Really nice feature. Now, in this instance, we want the whole of the bass. We don't want any of my voice. That's for best practice, trust me. And what we're going to do, we're just going to put that back. There we go. Put that there. We're going to put that there, and we're just going to hear what it sounds like. So. Cool. All right. So we can go into the intricacies. It's sounding a lot more like a bass, but there's a few bits that still sound a bit more digital. So we're just going to go into individual notes, and we're just going to play with the slide in some of these cases, just to kind of connect them up a little bit more, just so they're not so input like that. There we go. So gonna come for this guy here. Just slide him up a little bit as well. So yeah, as you can see, fairly simple, really good way to call it. Again, just flip something on its head, using your voice, turning it into a VST. Now, I used a bass VST from the stock bank here in RipX, but you can import your own sounds if you wanted to. If you have the native access, for example, you can import that and use Massive if you wanted to, or anything to that matter. The point is that the flexibility is there and you can do it. So yeah, hope that's been interesting for you. And yeah, see you next time. May I just apologize to everyone who had to listen to me singing. Thank you for
I
sticking
don't know,
with
man. I think you've got an acapella career. I think you've got an acapella career ahead of you.
We'll see what's going on. If I stick a load of Valhalla reverb on it, we'll be
Ooh.
alright.
Or throw the acapellas in DeepCreate and just do whatever you want with it.
Very much so, yeah. That's what I really liked about it. It's the idea that if you don't necessarily know how to play bass, or if you know what the key you're in or anything like that, you can just sing it into a mic and it will pick it up for you, and then you can manipulate that MIDI.
And it has a detect scale, and it detects the BPM, so you could figure out what scale you're in too if you're just like singing.
Completely.
I mean, one of the cool things that we were talking about while that video was playing is
apart from how to spell acapella.
Well, yeah, that took a couple minutes, but we got there. Don't worry, we got there. But the fact that, like, I always have issue with MIDI orchestral sounds, right? You know, you add the automation to make it sound a little more human in the slides, but I play guitar. So theoretically, I could play a guitar part, put it in DeepCreate, and then up the cello to 100%, and I'd have a cello with the slides and the human imperfections that I would want. And I just think that's really cool. But yeah, what do you think? You gonna throw some sounds into your music?
Yeah, I think so. I think I like we're talking in the round robin later about flipping our workflow, and I always come from a basis of chords. I tend to just kind of write the chord progression first, and the idea of not having anything like that, not having a tempo, not having a key signature, anything, just kind of like humming whatever's coming out of my brain, and then converting that. What I want to do is put native access VSTs in there, which you can do.
Yeah, and
then just kind of upgrade and go your sounds from there. It's in terms of flipping my workflow, which is what I'm about at the moment. It's just a very good way of doing it. Yeah. What I haven't done is what you have spent your time doing on RipX. So tell us more about, before we get into it. Tell us what you've been doing with it.
This, I think, is the most, for me, promising part of DeepCreate, and just even AI stem splitting in general. It's just stem splitting. You can take a song or a track or anything like that and put it in. Even Koala has a stem splitter, but it splits the stems of the track. So you'll get the drums, you'll get the guitar, you'll get the bass. So what I did was I threw my song farther into it, and then I split all the sounds into layers. And then I just found a couple of sounds individually, like soloed layers, and made some samples out of it, did some repitching and things like that, threw it in the SP, and made a quick little track. So the video is going to start with like a quick example of the track I made. I'm going to flesh it out for my video that on my channel that's going to come out, I think, on Tuesday. So if you like what you see and want to see more, you can head over there to check it out when it comes out. But it's pretty crazy. So do you want to check it out?
Yeah, let's go to it.
All right, here we go. friends, Sunwarper here, and in today's video, we're gonna take a look at Hit and Mix's new DeepCreate. And one of the most awesome parts of this program is that you can put in a full track or any kind of audio, and it will split it by stem and separate them into layers. So today we're going to take a track of mine called Farther, and we're going to separate them, find some interesting sounds inside the stems, and then do some effects within DeepCreate because there's a ton of really cool effects. Then we'll throw whatever we create into the SP and make some music. So what I find so fascinating about this program is you basically have a cheat code for creating new samples from anything, tracks you've already done, sounds you've created, anything like that. But what's so powerful about it is you can take these ideas and separate them into layers and just choose one part of it and then treat it with changing pitch, formant filters, or reverb, delay, anything like that within this program, and then you have these new samples that sound nothing like what the origin was. So it's a really interesting way to just introduce new sounds if you're feeling stuck creatively or looking to expand your horizons in terms of sound design and things like that. So with all that out of the way, let's take a look. We'll move in the song and then we'll see what we can create. Alright, so I just loaded in a song, and here you can see you can separate it by voice, bass, other sounds and instruments, drums and percussion, and then you can save the stems. So we're gonna hit rip, and now you can see up on the left that it is splitting the stems, and it's going to take about 4 minutes. I'll cut all that waiting time out, so I will see you in a second. Okay, so we've got the track split up. You can see all of the stems here. It shows audio and MIDI. So you can hear it's actually separated even the pad into the individual note. That's the original opening chord, but you can just play individual notes from that chord. So let's solo the percussion and see what we got going on. Let's hear what the kick sounds like. So some pretty cool kick sounds. We could even bounce those out and use those for some of the sounds that we're going to use on the SP. The main thing that I want to look at is this voice. So let's check it out. So here's my singing.
In the rubble of time, in the wake you fade into sunlight.
So I want to see in the chorus. Oh, I like that. So in the chorus, we've got this really interesting looped vocal, but in separating the stem, it's mixing a little bit with the synths when the stems were separated. And so it created this very ethereal, otherworldly sound that's, I mean, you tell me, but it sounds kind of like a human voice, but more synthetic. And I think that might be what we're going to use. And we're going to set a loop. You just hit L on the keyboard and you see this blue line, that's your loop. Alright, so the first thing that I think I'm going to do, there's a lot of pitch variation, so I'm going to flatten the pitch a little bit. It's also added an octave up, but put the volume very low. Alright, so we're going to add a little cello to it. And then I think we're going to put some delay. Let's get a little reverb maybe. Just a little. Alright, so we're going to export the loop. And I'm just going to do just the loop single file because that's all we're doing. All right, and then we'll just hit export. Let's check out what the guitar has to offer. Let's go to that first section. Let's take that first chord progression and we'll loop it. All right, I like that octave up. So I think those are the two loops that I want to move into the SP. So we're going to move those into the SP and then see what we can create from there. Okay, so I've got the two stems moved onto my SP. So here's the first one. And here's the synth. So now what I'm thinking is I've got some 808s here. So I'm thinking we'll just put in some drums with the pattern. So the first thing that I want to do is pitch this down. And then the next thing that I want to do is chop this up. So I'm going to go here and chop. Now let's see what happens if I do auto mark. Let's do time division 4. Alright, so I think we've got something there. If you want to see the rest of this video, I'll be posting it on my channel at Sunwarper if you want to check it out, and I will have a more fleshed out beat, but this is a pretty good starter. So just to show you, we haven't even touched this other sample from the strings. Well, synth, really. But so we took this and made some sounds. So I think to further it, what I want to do is add some bass and things like that. But this is just a quick look at DeepCreate and how you can create some awesome samples from any sound you can think of, other songs, previous songs you've made. If you've got a song that you're just not feeling to finish, try throwing it in DeepCreate and see maybe splitting the stems and then doing all these crazy additional sounds and reverbs and things like that. You'd be surprised what you can create. So thanks for watching and back to the show.
Well, I mean, okay, all right. So you can take something, split it up, and you've got audio, MIDI, all playing at once. You can manipulate the hell out of it and create something new. There's so much you can do here. There is so much you can do here. You sounded like you had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel like I barely scratched the surface, but just in terms of that sample splitting, creating these stems and then doing all these effects to it, adding the strings on top of the vocal chops was really cool, and adding the octaves at a lower level, and then just throwing in the SP, changing the pitch and chopping it and making something that sounds nothing like the original song. That's a great way. And that's kind of that thing that Eon Lake always talks about, remixing a song that's not even released. You know, when you're just creatively in a rut and you need something, it's like, well, if you've got an idea, just throw that idea, split the stems, and go from there. And the power really of the app is the fact that you can do all this other changes. Like, you did it a little bit, but you can quantize the audio that's also MIDI at the same time. You can quantize it and move it around, so you can change arpeggios into chords or anything like that and then stretch them out and do all. It's just like, it's so intricate. And with that intricacy comes a bit of a learning curve. So there is a bit of a learning curve to it.
Yeah, and I think it's not like something that you're going to get instant gratification out of. And I look at the UI, and there could be a bit of work done on the UI and kind of the workflow of it itself. But once you get past, you understand that how it works and how it's centered. It's a very powerful tool. It is a very powerful tool, and there's a lot that can be done there. Question is, are you going to add it to your repertoire?
I think so. It's pretty crazy. I think I know enough about it to do kind of what I want from it, but I'd have to spend a little more time learning to really expand on it, moving things around and stuff like that. But I do think it will make its way in, because it's just, it's just another tool in the toolbox, right? Like, I don't think I'll always use it, but if I'm short on ideas, or if I want to try something new or figure out a new chord progression that I don't normally think of, like take one of my old songs and move it around or something like that, I think there's a lot of merit there.
Yeah. There's a lot to be done, and we've only barely scratched the surface. The guys at Hit and Mix are continuously updating it, and they're continuously bug fixing, which is always very nice. Very friendly people.
I should say that. So the RipX without DeepCreate, I think, is about $100. The one that comes with DeepCreate is $198. And Curtis, you can put a link in the chat, and then I'll put one in the description if you're watching this back, or if you're watching this on a podcast platform, it will be in the description.
Very much.
I believe there's a 21-day trial as well if you want to check it out. It's worth checking out for sure. And we really appreciate them sending it over. We had a lot of fun with it.
We did, yeah. And yeah, thank you for that. Very, very much. Thank you for that. So I'm getting the link to put in the chat for everyone. And it's very much worth your time if you want to give it a check out. And yeah, like I say, we're talking about flipping our workflows and trying something new. It's a very good way of doing that. So yeah, go check it out. So yeah, that was our deep dive. And we'd like to know what you guys think. Let us know. But before anything else, let's move on to the marketing, shall we?
Yeah, really quick in the chat, Tate had asked, what does the SP stand for? So SP is, as Survey Channel said, it's the SP404. It's a sampler from Roland. It's that little hardware I was using to play the song at the beginning and at the end of the video. It's a really cool hardware sampler. You can put, what I like about it is you can put long samples in. It doesn't have to just be, each pad is only 2 seconds worth of audio. So you can put full tracks in it. A lot of lo-fi and boom bap producers use it. It's similar to like an MPC if you're familiar with that tape. But I think SP in the name actually just stands for sampler. But correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, if you know that.
I'd like to know. It's a very popular. Sunwarper has one. Eon Lake has one.
I think it's sample player actually. Sorry.
Sample player. Well, there you go. There you go. Sunwarper does a lot of it on his YouTube channel. If you want to go and check it out, he does a lot with it.
Yeah, and I'll be fleshing that track that I made out over there on Tuesday. So
cool. Well, there we go. So Instagram. What's going on in the Instagram world, Sunwarper?
Yeah, so just a quick little bit. They did introduce another thing that I wasn't actually going to talk about, but we can after this. But so first and foremost, they came out with this new, what they're calling a transparency tool. And what it really means is just you can find out if you have any posts that are affecting your reach in terms of the algorithm, explore pages, searches, and things like that. Do you want to share that clip I put from Adam Mosseri? This is the Instagram head, Adam Mosseri, and he's talking about the rollout of this new thing.
Yeah. So let me just bring this up so we can see. In a little bit. Cool. Let's bring him out. So yeah, this is him himself. Let's play it through.
Today we're announcing new transparency tools so you can see whether or not your photos and videos are recommended in places like Explore. Now we know reach can be volatile. You can see how many people you reach go up and down and over time. And one of the reasons that happens is sometimes your account can end up in a state where it's not eligible for your photos and videos to show up in what we call recommendations. So at the end of feed or in Explore or in other places where we surface photos and videos from people you do not follow. So if you go to account status, which is already launched, if you go to profile, settings, account, you can see it there. And you've historically been able to see any photos or videos that you've posted have been taken down because they violate our community standards, our community guidelines. What we've added is also whether or not your account can be recommended in places like Explore, because if you have posted things that violate our recommendability guidelines, our recommendation guidelines, which are different, you can end up in a state where your content won't be recommended. And you can edit that content, delete that content, or appeal if you disagree. Now, this is just one more way we're trying to be transparent about how reach works on Instagram, because we know it's important for creators to understand how Instagram works if they're going to use it over the long run. Just a few steps to try to make Instagram the best place for creators. Let me know what else you'd like to see down in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Peace.
Yeah, so that was just a quick one. Yeah, peace. So just a quick one, because I know a lot of people have been talking, and myself as well, or have been seeing their reach go down with the algorithm, all those changes when they were trying to be TikTok and then walked it all back. A couple people had mentioned, I remember at the time, I think I'm shadow banned. Like, that's why my reach had gone down. So I like that they put this transparency up that you can actually see, like, do you have any posts or anything that you're doing that are causing this? And I don't think that's the case for a lot of people are experiencing reach go down. I think A, it's the holidays. B, it's just that algorithm is all messed up from all these changes. But you can always check it if you want to. He says it in the video. It's just in your account settings. There's a section. So yeah, just it's there. And then the other thing that I was talking about that they added, and I wasn't going to mention it, but I do think it's interesting, is they added for US and some other countries notes, which are on the top of your messages page. You'll see people with like a little, it's their photo and then a little blurb like, hello, I just ate a taco or something, you know, like some random thing. It's not in the UK and I don't think it's in the EU, but it's, I was talking to Curtis before the episode started that I could see maybe you could put like, you know, as a musician, you could say like, oh, new music is out today. Click this to get a link. And then if they click it, I think it opens a message with you. So they could say like, hey, send a link and you could send it over. So maybe it's a little spammy. It was just kind of the first thought I had, like as a musician, that could be a way you could do it. I don't know. Just a thought.
It's a good way of doing it. So just to come back to the new rollout for the checking of your content, it seems like a nice way to kind of hone in on content that works. If you're looking to find content that works, instead of shooting in the dark, so to speak, that you can have a look and see where you're going and see kind of how it is faring, I suppose, which is more data than what you've got if you've just got your analytics kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's not going to show you per video. That's the only thing. It's only going to show it, from what I gather from the way he's talking, it's only going to show videos or something where you broke their community guidelines. Mm-hmm. So like I think that one picture he showed was somebody posting a photo of like prescription pills. That I guess goes against their guidelines. So if you had done that and you open that, you'd see like this is off because you did X, Y, or Z, and then you can edit it or delete it and then like course correct, so to speak.
That's a nice way of thinking about it. And I mean, it's a good way to see where you can go, because I mean, if you're putting out content on a consistent basis to try and grow, it's good to know what you can and can't do.
Yeah, and if you ever notice a stark decline in your likes or your reach or something like that, and you're like, something might be up, now you can actually get an idea if something is actually up or if it's just, you know, algorithmic growing pains or something like that.
Yeah, completely. Tate Williams in the chat says he's experienced this. For me, it was the music. Was that any particular music? Was it your own music? Was it music from other places? That'd be an interesting one to know. What music was it that was getting sparked by?
Oh yeah, Instagram? that is interesting. Yeah, were you putting music in not through Instagram's like proper way of doing it? I mean, we all put our own music on our videos, you know, not through Instagram. But yeah, let us know, Tate. That's interesting.
You need to do. Yeah. So, yeah, we'd like to know as well as what you think about the marketing. If there's anything that speaks to you. So we have some people in the chat I know that are on Instagram, and people watching back as well, probably as well. How are you finding your recent growth in Instagram? Is it working for you? Let us know.
Yeah. And just real quick, back on the SP, because I love it so much. Survey Channel said he still got his original SP404, and he thinks that SP just is an abbreviation for sample player. That original SP404, that doesn't use SD cards, right? Survey Channel, yeah. It's another method of saving or something, I think. I think it's like that, but I think the sound is a little different in terms of the vinyl compression it does and things like that.
That could work. I was also thinking while you were saying that the SP could stand for Sunwarper Plays.
Other people play it though.
Yeah,
I googled it, and some people are saying it just means sampler, sample player, or sample percussion. Okay. I tend to go with sample player. That 2 words, one starts with S, one starts with P, and it's beyond percussion, right? Because you know, maybe though you're hitting the pads, so it's percussive. I don't know.
Very much so.
Yeah, and he says it's compact flash. Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Well, there we go. So one more segment before we head on off, and that is the round robin. A quick one this week. As I've mentioned a couple of times, and we've been talking about the RipX, we've been looking at flipping our workflow. I've just finished Marooned, and I was in a certain workflow. I was working from a template. I had an idea, and I was working with the same thing that I was going through, and it created Marooned. And I've been looking at this week how to kind of turn that on its head and try to kind of spark a new form of inspiration, be that a different way of working. It will be that a new DAW or something like that. So I wanted to get your ideas from anyone in the chat and from you, Sunwarper. Workflow flip suggestions. What could you do? A very small thing that in your workflow that would perhaps create something new or would perhaps give you a new idea. For example, like I say, I always tend to work from a template. I know templates are quite popular with people, but for the entire this week in Ableton, I've been opening up a blank slate in Ableton and creating the stems from nothing, or creating the channels from nothing and going as I go. And that's just forced me to look at different things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, how deep down the rabbit hole do you want to go with this? You know, there's the easy one of just like, open a blank thing, or what I was saying at the beginning, do a ton of sound design sessions. And usually, as our friend Eon Lake, I keep bringing him up because I miss him, but he'll say, the sound design sessions are where you write the best songs because you don't intend to write a song. But like I was saying at the beginning of the episode, just spend a couple days just making sounds, you know, putting drums together, making beats, maybe sampling sounds, making loops, things like that, and then building songs from those instead of making your own chords and things like that. That could do it. I mean, like me, I've changed a lot of my day-to-day workflow has changed where I make a lot of songs now just in Koala on my phone, move it to my iPad so I can, it's because I don't use headphones in the house usually, but I'll move it to my iPad for a little better sound and just so it's bigger. And then after that, I put it in the SP. So I'll resample sounds from Koala into the SP and then rebuild the track. It's kind of cumbersome, but it's like reinventing the first idea into like a new version. That's like my current workflow right now, other than for commission work where I'm going in the DAW and making big, huge soundscapes and stuff like that.
Okay, so you got a workflow. I suppose what I'm curious about is, that workflow quickly becomes a routine. Is there any way that you can stop that becoming a routine? Novelty is fresh inspiration. Okay. So what would you do in that sense?
So, like, I just changed to using Koala. So if I wanted to change it more, I would, instead of using like certain drum sounds, I would just make stuff from field recordings first and then build from there, or just work in a DAW again, you know, something like that. I mean, just because it's routine doesn't mean it's bad, and you still flipped your workflow already one way. You can always go back to a previous iteration and you're flipping it again because you're not used to working in that way.
Yeah, entirely. I suppose, I'm not saying that routine is a bad thing, novel, anything like that, but the idea that if you're just making small changes to something, or you just tweak something here and there, you can get a new set of results. Like you say, a sound design session where you're unintentionally creating something. If something is created from an unintentional source, that's sometimes where the magic and the
but like what I'm saying with Koala is, I mean, I'm just watching TV and I just start making a beat. Like I put 4 drum sounds in and I just did you know, something like that. Like it's unintentional and I'm just like doing it for fun. And then I'll sample that in later, so it's just a sample workflow. So I tweaked it in that I'm not always working in on the desk with like my hardware. I can do it anywhere. If I'm bored at lunch or something, I can just put a couple sounds in Koala and go from there.
Makes sense. Hydrophyte is saying that I should probably convert to Logic. That'll switch everything up. Yeah, you're right. I'm not sure if I want to go. I'm not sure if I want to go that far down the rabbit hole.
I think you should. It's eye-opening.
Logic is one I haven't tried. I've done a tour of them, and I am yet to do Logic, and I think that might just be because I've just fallen so hard for Ableton.
Oh my. Well, also in the chat, Tate says, I love sound design sessions. Like you said, Sunwarper, some of the best music comes out of unintention. Yeah, that's actually Eon Lake. So. I was quoting Eon Lake, so we're doing like a meta quote. He's on the show usually each week. He's just not here today because Christmas time is rough. Survey Channel also said, I got to bring back the SP, sorry, but it's got some really good grit. Yeah, that's what I've heard about that OG 404 is that it's crazy gritty, like in a good way.
Makes sense.
And Hydrofighter said, or even better, record to 2-inch tape. I mean, I've got a cassette recorder back there I could send to you. You know, if you want to pay the massive shipping, you know. Hey.
I would say no. I wouldn't mind doing more tape stuff. John Frusciante's got a new album coming out in February. He's got a double album coming out, and that's all pressed to tape directly.
Ooh, nice, yeah.
I do want to do that thing where I shut myself up in a cabin, just take a few pieces of hardware and just record to something that is not a computer.
Yeah.
One of these days.
It's really fun to just get away from the computer, just in general, like with the hardware sampler, something like that. Those weird limitations, because you're not used to them, just bring the best creativity out.
Yeah. Diamonds are made. So it's very good. So yeah. Thank you for that, very much so. And the guys in the chat as well, either watching back or live, let us know what little changes have you made to your workflow recently that has creeped up and caused inspiration. We'd like to know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any last words?
No, just if you are around, patrons on Sunday, like I say, we've got our hangout. And if you are enjoying what we do, come and hang out with us on Discord. The community there, we love our community. As we always say, together we grow, where we swap ideas and share and keep everything alive. It's good fun.
Yeah, and like I mentioned too at the start, usually on Mondays around 10:40 Pacific time, we will hop on the public chat for a little bit to just talk. We were talking music and then crazy AI stuff. But yeah, if anybody just wants to join and have a chat, you're more than welcome to. We're usually on for about 20 minutes on Mondays, but for patrons on Sunday, I think it's an hour, right? 30 minutes? Hour,
yeah, it's
like
usually
that, so.
be there for an hour.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'll be good fun. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us this week. The chat's been alive, and we've loved having you for your company. It's been lovely hearing what you have to say. Hopefully, we'll see you next week. Next week will be a clip show actually, because we have our break for Christmas. So happy holidays to everyone. But then we'll be back. So we'll be back live in 2 weeks, where we'll be doing more of kind of like a let's see what we talk about kind of thing.
I was kind of thinking we talk our favorite 1 or 2 albums of the year.
I like that,
because I just had a late album of the year like 2 days ago. I was like, we should talk about some albums of the year. So if anybody wants to join us in the chat, list off their top albums in the next episode. Well, 2 episodes from now. The first one we're live again. So 43, I think. Numbers aren't my strong suit this morning, but come join. We'd love to have you there, and we'll talk some good music.
We'll be talking 2022. Top albums 2022. I think we've got in the docket the lessons that we've been learning from 2022.
Yeah, so it's just a wrap up of 2022 in general.
Yeah, so that'd be good as we see in 2023. So we'll see you there. Have a lovely week, and take it easy for now.
All right, thanks for